Okay, it's me again. Sorry about that. It's the last session, the closing session. I think the name of the session is "What's Next?" and I think it's already important. We try to speak with one voice, work together. We had many associations, and it's not my last speech, but I would like to just take this opportunity to recall. I had a long discussion yesterday with a young ambassador, and I can recognize that we had 5 men of the chair of the association, and we were not all very young. And I think we have things to do to follow their message and to try to arrive to what they expect. And it's going to be tough, I told you already, but don't be discouraged. Continue. It's only the good way to do. And that was the things. And I hope with the conclusion, we will have a nice vision and see what next to protect our ocean and waters. And of course, what will be next is what you will do of our ocean and waters. Because I will probably be a part of a dust floating in the water when the ocean will be back to what it has been, clean, sustainable, and useful. I will be dead, but I count on you to make it happen. Okay, so now we go to the next session, and I would like to call. Well, we start by Vladimir video message, and then after we will have our speaker present here on stage. Okay, so Vladimir.
Warm greetings from the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO, the home of ocean sciences in the United Nations system. It's my great pleasure to speak to you after the declaration of the EurOCEAN and your partners has been announced. So I'd like to basically say that we are very much behind you, and we share and would like to speak one voice with you on such issues as integrated land sea policies and management, the need for sustained and better coordinated observations, and also to have our citizens committed and involved in much better relations with the ocean. So, you know, this all is embedded in the IOC work that is done through IOC functions. So we try to unite the work of many communities conducting ocean research, observations, transforming this into data, exchanging data, generating services, including tsunami warnings, providing information for assessments and policy that culminates in the sustainable ocean management and the governance. And of course, we cannot leave anyone behind. And because of that, the work of IOC is really centered around the capacity development. But the foundations for this is definitely data. You cannot manage what you cannot measure. So now we are moving forward from, as IOC, from an organization that was supposed to be providing platform for communication, basically general cooperation between oceanographers from various political systems, into an organization that is supposed to be addressing critical issues for humanity of existential nature. And of course, this is about ocean management. Because of that, I'm very much in favor of integrating many types of ocean management, including the management from source to sea. That is what is coded here in terms of the words integrated land sea policies and management. And this is indeed a way forward for us to unite our important experiences in coastal zone management and adaptation, in developing sustainable ocean economy through maritime spatial planning, different ways of protecting the ocean in the high seas beyond exclusive economic zones and within exclusive economic zones, contributing to the management of fish and aquaculture, working with adaptation mitigation of climate change, which is also, as the recent report of the World Resources Institute showed, is able to contribute 25% to the reduction of carbon dioxide dioxide emissions, and then, of course, developing policies, real-time services, capacity, and providing early warning systems. So, you know, this is also manifested through us in the work of the decade. The purpose of the decade and the vision is basically to create the science we need for the ocean we want, and we have a clear vision for the ocean we want that is clean, healthy, resilient, productive, predictive, safe, accessible, but most importantly, inspiring and engaging. That the person who proposed this remains unknown to us, but this was a huge contribution to planning of the decade, and this helps us to actually engage everyone, including citizens, in addressing the decade challenges on pollution, on ecosystems, on food from the ocean, ocean economy, again, climate, but also very importantly, observing system, and also ocean digital representation. Europe is very much committed to creating a digital twin of the ocean, and this is a very important thing, because if we have a digital twin that's presenting to us the past, current, and future state of the ocean, then we'll be able to take decisions that are based on that quantitative information about the state of the ocean. Such decisions are much more reliable, much less arbitrary, and it will be much more difficult for decision makers to actually address their group interest while you have a clear evidence of what will be the consequences of this decision expressed in the digital twin of the ocean. So the decade is moving forward, and I have to say that when in 2016 we proposed the idea of the decade, it was just shared by a few people. Now we have a lot of people working for the decade. We have 48 programs, 276 projects, 60 countries involved, more than 3,500 organizations. So this is a total new level of ocean sciences focused on sustainability of the ocean. And this is also an ecosystem. This is an ecosystem of scientists, governments, industry, philanthropy, non-governmental organizations, holders of indigenous knowledge, United Nations organizations, you name it. So more than 35,000 of individuals participate in the decade, and EurOCEAN is a very important part of that. Your community is really leading on several activities. I have to say, what unites us all is the notion of co-design, the notion that we need to add to the technocratic science also the science that is based on ethical principles, the principles of fairness, and that combination of tangible and intangible qualities really makes a huge difference. And we are moving forward the science that is totally new. It's transformative science that is going to help us to actually develop our relations with the ocean in much more harmonious ways. So in that sense, I have to say that the 10 decade challenges now resulted in many programs that focus on them. And I would like to say that observations community is the leader. We also have strong focus on ocean and climate. Digital ecosystem also is represented quite well, despite they don't have too many programs. But you know, we need probably not too many of them, because we need to compare digital twins of the ocean. So all of this is helping us to contribute to the ocean economy. There will be more focus on this in the future, and of course contribute to the behavior change, which is only possible when we involve not only governments and scientists, but also citizens in this work. So this is exactly why I also very strongly support your declaration that is focusing on all these really seminal developments. Now, let me very briefly introduce to you the way forward. The decade is now 3 years old, and we started the process of designing how we can look at where we are. I already presented to you how many programs are populating different challenges of the decade, and now we can state that we are moving forward. Probably not as consolidated as needed, but we are moving forward. And the new process that was proposed very recently, the Vision 2030, is going to review what is the success of the programs and the challenges of the decade, how we can see it in 2030 for each of the 10 challenges. What is missing? what we can really achieve. So we will set our global priorities. We'll present these priorities in the Decade conference that is going to be in Barcelona at in April 2024. And having looked at this, providing for you a platform for further co-design of your activities, we will then start affecting the process that exists in the United Nations in relation to the ocean. The preparatory conference in Costa Rica, the One Ocean Science Conference that is going to immediately precede One Ocean United Nations Ocean Conference in 2025 in Nice, and then hopefully the Conference of United Nations on the Ocean in Nice in June 2025 will result in very strong decisions in support of ocean management that is based on science. This is basically the vision that was enabled by Ocean Decade, by the work of REC, and by the work of partners such as EurOCEAN. Once again, I very much support your declaration. I may very much appreciate what you do. Thank you for this, and also let me wish you successful continuation of our joint work towards the ocean we need for the future we want. All the best, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Vladimir. Thank you very much to the IOC and to UNESCO to bring that in the decades. I have to admit, I've been working on that when I started to try to bring the IOC at a higher level and having a higher visibility. Together with Ed in the group one of the IOC and Alan, we've been trying to have this vision to bring the IOC at a higher level and bring the ocean in a bigger vision. And so they have implementation plan. And again, for the young generation, before going to new strategy, you see the old work on strategy and declaration, ask before if there are implementation plan, and ask where and how they have been implemented. Because sometimes, you know, they make strategy, they have an implementation plan, and they forgot they have an implementation plan, and they redo a new strategy and a new implementation plan and a new strategy and a new implementation plan, and nothing is implemented. So you have to really think about that. So now with this message, I would like to call on stage the next speaker. So Francisco Saborido. He is a director of the Institute of Marine Research, and he also represents the complementary plan for marine science of Galicia. Francisco, if you can take a seat first. So I'll bring all the people and I will bring you to the Javier Ruiz is a director of the Spanish Institute of Oceanography, IEO. So thank you. And Andrea Statinescu from head of the Maritime Innovation, Marine Knowledge and Investment Unit of DG Mare, the Direction Générale of Marine Affairs and Fisheries at the European Commission. Thank you. So, Francisco now, so the floor is yours.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you, Gilles. Thank you very much. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Gilles and Marine Board, for inviting me to this session. Yes, I am here today not as a director of the Institute of Marine Research, but as one of the coordinators of a very interesting, I hope, for you, ongoing rallying action, which is the Marine Science Program. And the other two coordinators are also here in the room. You know very well both Rosa Fernandez and Daniel Rey over there. 2 years ago, the Spanish Ministry of Science and Innovation decided to create the so-called complementary plans, which is a new mechanism for implementing research and development strategy coordinated between the national level, the Spanish state, and the Spanish regions that we call here autonomous communities, as Galicia, the region where you are now. These plans are collaborative actions in which common priorities have been defined between the national research plans and the priorities or interests of the different regions in Spain, looking for synergies, convergence, and perhaps even more important, looking for a better implementation of the funds. These plans has 4 objectives: to improve knowledge generation and technological innovation, foster the coordination of the state level with the regions, to promote collaboration between the regions, and to boost territorial economic transformation. And 8 scientific priority areas were defined within these complementary plans: quantum communication, energy and green hydrogen, agri-food, biodiversity, astrophysics and high energy physics, advanced materials, and biotechnology and health, and marine science. Yes, because ocean is a priority for the research plans at national and regional level here in Spain. In the case, in the case of the National Marine Science Program, involves 7 regions in Spain, those showed in the map, half of them in the Atlantic, half of them in the Mediterranean. And we are deploying here a joint research and innovation strategy to address the current and future challenges for restoring our oceans around Spain. The program, initiated 1 year ago, is very much aligned with the Vigo declaration that was presented a few minutes ago. And is very much aligned for 2 reasons. First, because we share a number of specific scientific goals we will see in 1 minute. But I think even more important is because the Marine Science Program is working at 2 levels of governance, national and regional. And as you saw today, that the Vigo declarations is giving special importance to work at different levels of governance if we want to have the one voice in the one ocean we want. The program is funded by the EU Next Generation funds with 54 million euros for the next for 3 years. So we have still 2 years ahead. In Galicia, the program is funded with 10 million euros provided by the EU Next Generation funds and by the MFAF, which is 60% provided by the Spanish ministry and 40% provided by the regional government, the Xunta of Galicia, and here, from here. I must say one important thing about this funding. We are devoting 75% of the funding to hire and train young researchers and technicians. I was hoping a big clap from the young researchers. Yes, and this is true because with this marine science program, we want to build the future, and the future is in your hands, right? We have some experience, but you are the future and you have your own experience as well. So that's why we want to invite to devote such amount of money from the 10 millions for your people. In the marine science program in Galicia, we have 3 main lines of action. The first one is implemented a sustained and integrated observation and monitoring of the marine ecosystem in Galicia. This is a clear alignment with the Vigo declaration we saw minutes ago. And here we have 4 goals or working packages. In total, we have 11 packages in this marine science program with 132 actions. In the first work package, we are developing new observation technologies with a high degree of automation to be implemented during the course of the actions in observation platforms with a low maintenance or low attendance to the platforms, and in the unmanned vehicles like drones. The second, we are developing an integrated marine data platform based in the supercomputing center in Galicia, just 80 kilometers from here in Santiago. A platform that should network and collaborate with another initiatives we saw a lot this morning, and following the fair and care principles. Third, we are developing a multi-scale and transdisciplinary simulators, combining artificial intelligence and modeling to use different types of data, biological, ecological, physical, social, economic data, and to build services and decision-making tools from there. We're also working on building several digital twins within this action. And finally, within this line of action, we are creating a long-term and long-scale monitoring strategy with a stronger coordination and governance, to be sure that in the future, we will have a sustained and well-coordinated observation. The second line of action within the program is to provide healthy and sustainable seafood from aquaculture. Here we have also 4 working packages. In the first one, we are developing advanced research on genomics for improving aquatic production. In the second one, we are facing one of the major challenges that the aquaculture sector has here in Galicia, which is the seed supply for the mollusk aquaculture. In the third one, we are investigating new approaches for improving animal welfare, because yes, our society in Europe is demanding healthy food, is demanding sustainable food, but also is demanding ethical food. And finally, we are generating new sustainable farming system based on integrated multitrophic aquaculture. Finally, in the third line of action, we are developing methodologies and mechanisms to promote social and economic transformations with two working packages that you will see are fully aligned with the Vigo Declaration. In the first work package, we're investigating social, economic, and ecological mechanisms to achieve a resilient coastal areas here in Galicia. This should facilitate in the near future the implementations of land-sea policies towards integrated coastal zone management that we want here in Galicia. And finally, the second work package, the 11th in the program, we are working in three societal aspects combined: ocean literacy, knowledge transfer, and training education as a mechanism for social transformations to foster a stronger engagement of the citizens in the for the restoration and preservation of our oceans. This is what is called ocean citizens in the Vigo declarations. But what about the future? Is this going to finish in 2 years? Well, the truth that is in Galicia, we are using these funds to build a very strong and powerful network with a long-term vision. We are more than 325 researchers from 85 research groups and 14 institutions here in Galicia. Virtually all the institutions related with marine science are involved in the program. I'm talking about the 3 universities of Galicia, 4 national-based research institutions, and 7 regional-based regional institutions. In the last 20 years, the European Union has made an important effort to better structure and integrate the research capacity across Europe. The ongoing European Union missions actually is an example of that and can be a cornerstone to demonstrate how scientific instruments may have a better, higher impact on research and in the society. Moreover, member states in the most recent years are following these principles, these initiatives, which is facilitating the convergence and coherence in research across Europe. We are expecting that our marine science program will become also a cornerstone to demonstrate how European Union funds can have a much more substantial impact on research and the society. And this is so because when we designed the marine science program, we have already in mind the principles of integration, moving towards common objectives and to have a higher impact on research. Finally, our network of researchers and institutions, we are not just a bunch of people meeting now and then. No. We are a group of people working hard in very specific actions to define the future challenges to have a single voice or one voice for the one oceans we want. It's true that we are working regionally, but always having in mind to build a better global ocean region by thinking on global. That's why we want to invite from here another European Union regions taking similar initiatives to cluster with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francisco. So now we leave the floor to Javier Ruiz, so the director of the IEO, the Spanish Institute of Oceanography. Javier, the floor is yours.
Thank you, members of the European Marine Boards, dear colleagues. First, thank you very much for giving the opportunity to give this speech. I must say just that when you set me the topic of the speech about this science and political interface, I thought, well, they gave me one of the most difficult questions in the meeting. I must say, I still feel the same. So I tried my best to explain, based on my experience as director of the Spanish Institute of Oceanography, about the importance to have interfaces between science and policymakers. Let me first try to think a little bit about what is this science and why it's necessary, this science policymakers interface. Science policy interface are mechanisms that facilitate the communication and collaboration between scientists and policymakers. The need for this interface arises because policymakers often require scientific information to make informed decisions. Science policy interface serve as a mechanism to translate scientific knowledge into a language and a format that can be understood and can be used by policymakers. In other words, to say it plainly, science policy, the motivation behind the creation of science policy interface is to bridge the gap between the scientific community and the policymakers. In this two parts dialogue, the first thing I would like to say is something more or less obvious. The Spanish Institute of Oceanography does not belong to the political side, it belongs to the scientific side. It's a body whose mandate by the Spanish state is to provide independent scientific advice for the implementation of public policies by the Spanish state. That is written in the Spanish law, that we must provide scientific statement before any action that public or private actors undertake, and an action that may have the potential to affect the marine ecosystem. This is not a new mandate. The Institute is more than 1 century doing this job. Presently, to conduct this mandate, we have about 1,000 personnel distributed in 9 coastal centers, and we run large infrastructure, many others infrastructure, like the research vessels that is being built here in Vigo, more than 80 meters length, or the largest aquaculture infrastructure in inland in Europe. As you can imagine, from this number and for the role that is assigned to the Institute by the normative framework in Spain, the Institute is the main actor in the provision of scientific advice to the Spanish authorities in matters related to the management of marine ecosystem and its living resources. Providing this advice has an advantage for the Institute, both in terms of the budget of the Institute and also in terms of the political recognition of this scientific body. About 30 to 40% of our budget comes from ministries that are different than the Ministry of Science and Innovation, which is the ministry that we organically belong. And the Institute, the state set the Institute at the core of any decision taken at Spain for things as diverse as modification made by port authorities, coastal action in beaches, marine wind farms, strategies, designing of strategies that are coherent with climate change, marine protected areas, any action on the seafloor, foreign affairs in the sea, sustainable fisheries in and outside of Spain. We all know Spain is a power in fishing, or action in case of an emergency happening. We have one important emergency, a volcanic emergency in La Palma in the year 2021. So despite the Institute is not a political body, providing advice at such a dimension on public policies makes the Institute a well-recognized actor at the political level. Actually, I tell the history, I will probably tell the history too to my grandsons, that my first act as a director was to go to a meeting that was convocated by one of the vice presidents of the government and 2 ministers. So this is the level, the high level of political interest in the functioning of the Institute in Spain. So having this strong political interest by policymakers in the functioning of science, one, or at least I wonder, what is necessary from science to provide an advice, a knowledge, a scientific knowledge that is effectively taken by the policy makers. And in this, obviously, we have 2 actors. Again, we have an actor from science, and we have the second side, the policy makers. I will make some reflection of what is necessary, in my view, from the scientific side, and also on the political and the policymaker context that receives this scientific advice. Providing this good independent advice needs some elements. They are essential elements. we need to have expertise and credibility. Those providing this scientific knowledge and advice should have the necessary expertise and qualification in their respective fields. It is essential that they have a record of rigorous and impartial research. It's important, absolutely essential to have independence, and this is fundamental for providing unbiased advice. Scientists and experts should not be undue influenced by political, commercial, or ideological interests that could compromise the objectivity of their recommendations. Relevance. This is also more or less obvious. If you provide advice, it has to be connected with the specific needs of the policymakers. Transparency. The process of providing advice should disclose any potential conflict of interest in this advice. And there are other elements that are also important, like the science has to be peer reviewed, open science has to have a long-term focus, clear communication, and have to incorporate ethical consideration. All these elements are necessary for the advice provided by scientists be accepted by policymakers, by the stakeholders the policymakers have to interact with, and also for the society at large. And as you can see, many of these elements are already incorporated in the Vigo Declaration that has just been signed. And I can tell you, this is not in conflict with the policymakers. It's coherent. It does not go into conflict with the view that policymakers have at national and international level. At the international level, we have bodies like United Nations or the European Union that are the backbone of multilateral political system that give international legitimacy to decisions and the promotion of sustainable development based in science. And we have very clear examples of this at international level, like the Regional Fisheries Organization, the International Panel for Climate Change, or the World Ocean Assessment, among others. In Europe, we have heard that the European Commission, we have heard these days that the European Commission, members of the European Commission describing EU policies like Water Framework Directive, Marine Strategy Framework Directive, or Marine Spatial Planning Directive that are focused in keeping good environmental status based on scientific knowledge. Member states must translate this directive into a legal framework in the countries and must use science to provide this by law. In the case of Spain, I can tell you, and you can see by the dimension of the investment in infrastructure or the proportion of the institute that is funded by ministry different than the Ministry of Science and Innovation, is already telling you the interest that country has in using science for promoting sustainable development. In some areas, Spain is even more committed than its international commitment, like it is the case of marine protected areas. As an example, our Vice President, Teresa de Rivera, was considering her institutional assistant to this meeting, but her agenda did not allow finally to assist, but she is always willing to support science for sustainability. Many of you probably know Ramon Margalef. Perhaps not so many of you know Odón de Buen, who is the founder of the Spanish Institute of Oceanography, but these both are clear examples of scientists heavily committed with sustainability. Their names were pronounced in the inaugural speech of our Vice President. I wonder how many countries can say that their Vice President pronounced the names of scientists committed with sustainability in probably one of the most important moments in their assumption of responsibilities, which is the inaugural speech. Of course, if you have this frame, of course, this eases the work of those scientists that are providing advice or taking decision. Does this mean that we live in a kind of being world where everything is perfect and there is no problem? Of course not, but the present mechanism existing in Europe and Spain prevents the making of irrational decisions which are not based in knowledge for the managing of the marine ecosystem. But then, depending on the public or private actor, you can still hear bitter, sometimes very bitter, accusation for the mere fact of presenting a scientific report for an issue that has a social conflict behind. But the overall scenario protects scientific independence and is hostile to this kind of interferences. But this scenario may change. This has happened in other areas of the world. This scenario may change. And maybe in the future it's not so favorable as it is now. And in this moment, I would like to, this EurOCEAN meeting has given particular importance to our younger generation of scientists. And I can see with pleasure there is a lot of young people in the room. So I felt it was important also to transmit to we that are more senior, have more experience in this field, to transmit to our younger colleagues, they need to be strong when you make a scientific, when you have a science you trust in, you have to be strong. You don't need, at some moment in your career, when you provide science for sustainability of the ecosystem, you will face a bitter moment. You should not let your arm to be twisted. The present society is very sensitive to the preservation of the ecosystem and very sensitive to decisions which are based in knowledge. But sometimes in your career, you will be faced with a conflict just by providing scientific independence advice. And this will be at some point an imponderable. And when I have faced this situation in the past, when I was younger, I like it to remember the words that Winston Churchill said to Chamberlain when Chamberlain was coming from a meeting where he thought that he has avoided the Second World War when the conflict was unavoidable. And then Churchill said to him, "You were given the choice between war and dishonor. You choose dishonor, and you will have dishonor, and you will have war." Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Javier, with these tough words at the end of your speech between Churchill and Chamberlain. Thank you for the vision between science to policy. And now I will leave the floor to Andreea Stratinescu. So as I said, she is the head of the unit of Maritime Innovation, Marine Knowledge and Investment in the Directorate General for Maritime Affairs and Fisheries. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. And it's really a pleasure to be here. And I would like to start by, first of all, congratulating the organizers, congratulating all the ones who participated and the ones that stayed until the very end. It's really, I would say, revigorating to see a room full at the end of the conference. So EurOCEAN conference are way ahead of policy developments. What you are discussing today, probably you are going to see in the policies in the coming years. And with the declaration, it's for sure that you hit the nail in the head strongly, because what you put in the declaration are really what we need to focus in the next period of time. I will start with the land-sea interactions. This is something that was not too much looked at, but we heard today that already there are movement into this direction. Digital twin of the ocean starts looking on how we integrate land, how we integrate rivers into this. And we need even more. We need probably at the next editions to try to bring the researchers that are working on freshwater, and we need to see how we are looking at these ecosystems, both for marine, but also for freshwater. At the level of the European Union, you heard today about the mission within Horizon Europe. It's the mission Restore Our Ocean and Waters. So we took already the initiative to move into this direction. And you can see in the previous calls that we opened, that we addressed rivers, we addressed lakes, not only the coastal and a marine ecosystem. So we look at the whole water system. Then the second priority, it's about ocean observation. I would say that it's a topic dear to my heart. And of course, that a better, a stronger, a coordinated coordination is needed. So we are making steps into this direction, and hopefully we will be able to fulfill what is mentioned into the declaration. So having from the part of the Commission even a legislative proposal that is going to support all of this. But until then, steps already have been done in Europe, and you heard during the presentations that, of course, the community is working stronger and stronger, more and more united, and as well with the digital twin of ocean, we are making steps into this bringing, community together. In terms of better coordination and reducing, I would say, the redundancies and also increasing the efficiencies, for sure there are steps still to be made. With a digital twin, we move towards the FAIR principle: findable, accessible, interoperable, and of course, reusable. There are in other parts of the world working mostly on the first part. I think that the strength in Europe, it's in interoperability and also more and more in the reuse of data. So we can set with the movement and with the collaboration that we are developing with the digital twin and hopefully with the ocean observation, we can set, I would say, the practice. We can set something that can inspire the world beyond what is done at the level of the European Union. So this is the level of ambition that we have for the ocean observation, because at the end, the ocean observation is the base of marine knowledge. If we do not have properly addressed, then it will have consequences on everything that we are doing linked to marine knowledge. And you know this very well because you are scientific. Then the third one, it's in the Vigo Declaration, it's about commitment of citizens. You heard today about ocean literacy. You heard about the Mission Ocean. And in the Mission Ocean, what we are doing is that all the projects, they have to include involvement of the local communities. They have to include these communities as part of the project, as beneficiaries, the ones that are going to be able to perceive the benefits of the innovation that is demonstrated in their areas. We introduced as well the principle of associated regions. All the projects that are going to be selected for demonstration in various lighthouses, part in Europe, they have to bring in at least 5 associated regions from other parts of Europe, because we want this innovation to be replicated elsewhere, and more, of course, the citizens to perceive it, and like this to be committed towards the change. So as you can see, we are doing a lot with the level of the European Union. Mission Ocean already has 2 years of calls for proposal projects that have been selected. We have now already a community of more than 550 participants in the 2 years of the project. 2023 closed recently. 2024 call is going to come in February next year. So until 2007, a lot, I would say, of other stakeholders to join the community and to be able to work together with one voice for the ocean. I really liked what you mentioned, to speak with one voice, because only like this we can make a change, and only like this as well we can contribute to the objectives of the Ocean Decade, but both at European level, but also through pursuing the international collaboration. We continue EU to push us at the level of the European Union. So continue pushing us. I will not use probably the word it's lobbying, but okay, say pushing. And I think that with your help, we'll be able to achieve the objectives that we have in front of us. And Your declaration, it's really coming very timely. We are ending a commission. We are in front of the new one. It can set a nice road for the future of our ocean in waters in Europe. So with your support, maybe in the next commission, ocean and waters even higher on the political agenda. So let's continue working together. And I think that like this, we'll be able to succeed. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the speakers and the word you say for what's going next and the optimisms you're showing and the relationship between the science and the policy. So now I think it's time to close this EurOCEAN 2023. I hope we've been successful in trying to bring some message and to talk together with one voice. And before closing, I will take also again another opportunity to make maybe the scientists think that sometime the scientists can play a very important role, more than they can imagine. I will take the example of the creation of the IPCC. Everybody now knows what is IPCC and what are their reports, and the policymakers are very aware looking to the IPCC. I would like to recall how IPCC has been created at the United Nations. It's Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher who were fed up with all this warning about the climate change and the non-use of fossil oil and coals, that thought that creating a huge amount of scientists, they will arrive to continue what they want to do with the economy. And they bring a broad guise of scientists who do perfectly their work. They look at all the communication, at all the paper was being produced, and they came for the research recommendations with their scientific view, no care of the politics. The first report was a drama for the politicians, because if they were not considering that they could have such a warning coming for the communities they have created, you know, they created themselves. They believe that the scientists will continue to tell them that continue like you are doing, it's a good way. So that was a good thing. After at the COP21 in 2015, I was involved, it was in Paris, and it was also very funny to see that Laurent Fabius, was Minister of Foreign Affairs, was not aware that the ocean was playing a role in the climate change. Can you imagine? So for them, the climate in Paris, it was only in the atmosphere, and 71% of the Earth of the surface had nothing to do with the climate. So he discovered that, and I was surprised. So we were a group of scientists, and we explained him the role of the ocean and how it works, and it made them consider, and they opened a special session for ocean during the COP21. It was the beginning of having a vision of the ocean, how the ocean was playing a role in the climate. Now we see it's not playing a role only on the climate. Of course, we have seen that the ocean is everywhere for our life, for our future, and for this. So I think we have been, with this declaration, trying to bring you to this science, to policy, and to this vision. I hope you continue to do your science the best you can, produce your articles that the people from the different panels can read, make synthesis, be able to do synthesis for the policymaker, because they need this. Now they understand that the science is very important, as playing a role, and we have to continue in that directions. And all the organizations here have been playing a role during these 2 days. Speak, I think, already with one voice in one direction. And I was very happy to have the possibility to talk to you and to share this. And I would like to thank you, all of you, for being present today and yesterday. And I would like now, will ask you to make a lot of applause for all the panelists that I would like to thank, the moderators and the speakers, who were very useful, bringing their knowledge and bringing the information. And I hope that the people who were looking at us, watching at us on YouTube, take the message home and try to go in the same direction. So I would like to applaud the moderator, the panelists, and the speakers for all the good jobs they do, and also our speakers today. And now it's not finished, because now you are awake. So I would like now you to upload the technical, the catering staff, the hostess, who were able to give us this nice set, and the coffee, and looking after us. So, and the technical guys who were able to give my name in big there. So I would like to applaud. Thank you very much. And now to the co-organizers. We are here with all these, the co-organizers. I will start by the European Marine Board. Sorry, guys. So it's but I will especially thank all the secretariat, the team, Sheila, but especially with my French Spanish accent, Angel Muniz Pinela. He has been working for 2 years to bring this together. Angel. Angel, the guy running with the mic everywhere and bringing all the stuff. Thank you, Angel. I would like to thank the Institute of Marine Research of the Spanish National Research Council. Thank you very much. The Spanish Institute of Oceanography. Here. CETMAR, and is member of the organization. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. The European Commission. Thank you. We will push you. We will push you. A joint programming initiative, JPI Ocean. EuroMarine. Behind EuroGOOS. EurOCEAN. The Center for Marine Research of the University of Vigo and the Campus do Mar. And even the industry partner. Thank you for the fish. CETMAR, I'm not very good at that with the X. CETMAR and ANFACO. And now you are free. Thank you very much to be there. Thank you. It's okay. And I applaud you for all your contribution. Thank you to you.